Chapter 201 MTL! Exclamation mark. Bexaeon quickly lifted his head. Just now, there was a deafening sound behind him. Perhaps something even worse had happened in the village. Damn it. Is this the time to think about that? He gritted his teeth and moved his feet again. He needed to get away as fast as possible. Huff. In the huge backpack Bexaeon carried as he sprinted through the mountain path, there were water, food, and survival supplies meticulously chosen after serious consideration. He had hidden them in a secret place, planning to use them when he had to flee this village someday. He couldn't believe that the time had finally come, but now, in the remaining space of his backpack, there were bones. Remains of the Punk Mjolnir troop that had vanished and collapsed. Among them, the bones that had once belonged to his sister. He should have discarded them since they were heavy. He found himself ridiculous for bringing them along despite knowing how foolish it was. Yet, now, it was impossible to just throw them away. That was the only thing he cared about. I wish everyone would just die. It might as well end this way. The villagers, the outsiders who came to the village, and even the agents who failed to rescue him. He imagined all of them dead and the damn village vanishing without a trace. It was an electrifying thought. But still, that one agent, that young agent with glasses who he had made draw the special prize, surprisingly calm, he had never sneered or gotten angry at his words. He helped him without asking for anything in return. In the end, he kept his promise, both of them surviving, not betraying each other. It felt strange. It was probably the first time he felt this sensation in his life. A strange feeling experienced when doing something good unintentionally, something he normally wouldn't do, and achieving it. People called this fulfillment. That was likely why, impulsively, he had left behind the paper boat. Of course, this mattered only if that agent survived and discovered it. I'll think about it when he picks it up. Considering the mess earlier with centipedes and blades, he might be dead already, at that moment. Exclamation mark. An eerie sensation pierced sharply into the back of his neck. Something was behind him. Something even stranger was happening in the village. Damn it. Unable to resist, Bexaeon glanced back. Then, exclamation mark. His face turned pale, and he began running frantically down the mountain path. He didn't look back again. Damn what he had just seen. Red blood pouring from the sky. I was prostrate. It happened automatically. My hands touched the ground as if bowing, as if performing a deep bow. I see you, I see you, I can see you. Splatter. Red blood fell onto my head and the backs of my hands. You wicked beast, plague, ancient fox spirit. Pain intense enough to make me scream erupted in one hand, the left hand, not the severed one. I feel like I'm dying. A rotten stench spreads. I scraped the ground with my hand. Agent Grapes. I heard Agents Bronze and Choi arguing loudly. Isn't that Bemgun of Dekaong Bong? Are you crazy? That supernatural phenomenon isn't friendly to humans. Later. Quiet for now. Enduring the pain, I hurriedly glanced sideways. Director Ho, in Unhage's form. Filthy and lowly one. Let me see you clearly. Was smiling while drenched in blood. This is my acquaintance. Pay him no mind and move along. Elder. Blisters bubbled up on the back of my hand. I see your tail. This is my acquaintance. Elder, kindly raise your voice from outside the threshold. The blisters burst into pus. Traces of plague. Your tail is severed. This is my acquaintance. Elder, have your meal on the porch. Pus burst and flowed. Crafty tongue. Unhage's body floated into the air. Exclamation mark. His limbs twisted violently, yet his calm smile remained unchanged. No. SHH. Agent Choi pressed my shoulder. Die. Lightning strikes. Burn to death, leaving only skin behind. No thanks. Between lightning flashes, Director Ho's expression appeared. It's tigers that leave behind skins when they die. I'm unsure what you're trying to say. Still smiling. Inexperienced shamans are dangerous indeed. I'm not a fox spirit. Where's your proof that I'm a fox? Proof that I'm a ghost? How about trying this? Evil spirits begone. Namu Amitabu Avalakite Shvara, Kayu Kayu Nyuryu, our Father who art in heaven, throw salt, Scatter red beans too? Lightning struck again, but it doesn't work. A tearing sound. What a shame. You must have misunderstood. A calm voice echoed from the floating figure. You can't burn me. A giant eye appeared between the blood rain from the sky. So noisy. Director Ho's limbs twisted further. Ancient, an utterly detestable, dirty creature. Disappear at once. Oh dear. Grab your tail and run. You're terribly wicked. Forcing me apart from my acquaintance. The smiling face turned toward me. What a shame, Solium! Exclamation mark. Then, in the next instant, he vanished. Unhage's strangely twisted floating body disappeared as if it had never been there, along with Director Ho who inhabited that body. Did he run away? My head was spinning with complex conjectures about how Unhage was being controlled and what restriction was placed on him, but simultaneously, I looked up at the sky. The blood rain had stopped. I looked down at my hand again. The blisters and pus had vanished cleanly, washed away by the blood rain. I removed the dirty thing, as promised. No, General, you said you left him groveling for forgiveness. He ran off pretty quickly, didn't he? Silence, impertinent thing. Agent Choi was suddenly lifted by the neck into the air. Agent Uck. Ha ha. I hurriedly looked upward and shouted, I apologize. And thank you. Respectful child. Something above was gazing down at me. Very well. It examined me. Declare it. Serve me properly. For a moment. Offer your bow. I grant permission. A strange force pressed down on my shoulders and back. You cannot. Agent Choi raised his arm. This one already serves another. Can you see? The Goblin Elder. At the end of his arm, the Goblin Elder's lantern swung. The procession is finished. So return before your meal cools, General Tiger. Impertinent thing. A snorting sound, like a feline predator's breath, set up the promised feast. Then everything went quiet. The blood rain, the lightning, all vanished as if they never existed. I barely managed to speak. Who was that? Oh, the great Tiger General Bodhisattva of Dekaongbong. Just call him that. It's a bit long, but he wants to be called that way. Ah, at that moment, I realized what ghost story it was. General Tiger of Dekaongbong, a tiger-related ghost story derived from Bekho Deasley Deadly Omen in the Four Pillars of Destiny, Sigipala, believed to bring great misfortune and disaster, particularly associated with punishment, bloodshed, and blades. However, the Paranormal Disaster Management Bureau discovered that when this particular omen is involved in professions related to such themes, for example law enforcement, surgery, military, it can actually become advantageous. Building on this insight, they found a method to make the entity in the ghost story devour misfortune and bad luck instead. For more detailed expedition records, refer here. And as for what it means, first and foremost, you must climb to the peak of Dekaongbong in Soraxn, bearing your offering completely by your own strength. Agent Choi had accomplished its condition, climbing the peak alone with offerings. I struggled to change the topic. Based on what Agent Bronze said, that supernatural phenomenon didn't seem human-friendly. Oh, that. Agent Choi shrugged. It just has no interest. Present a good meal and it grants favors. That meal includes humans, that's the issue. Agent Bronze flared up, but Choi calmly smiled. Don't worry, we've convinced him to go vegan. His eyes then fixed sharply on my now clean hand. It's gone. Right? Agent Bronze's gaze also shifted to the back of my hand. After witnessing what happened earlier, it wouldn't be hard for him to guess that whatever entity had possessed the deputy just moments ago might have left behind a curse or some kind of misfortune on my hand. Agent Grape, what on earth? I'll explain everything once we're back. For now, let's just confirm. Grape, tell me something. I hesitated, then finally spoke. I'm Rodia! Exclamation mark. The seal was lifted. Oh my god, I stared blankly at the back of my hand. And right on cue, the sound of a bicycle bell began ringing from outside the village. The Vermilion Bird team arrived. The mission's end signal. This Jason village still has a lot of suspicious areas. They'll probably start a full-scale search now. Looking for people. And the well too. Agent Choi tapped beside the well and spoke in a light-hearted tone. We'll investigate more later. Today, let's return. Yes, yet, I had overlooked something crucial. There may be other peculiar findings, but not right away. Let's head back for today. A strange sense of relief began to spread through my chest. Yeah, the ban is gone now. The whole dying within a month thing is over. I'm free. Wait, what a shame. Solemnim. Agent Grapes, I was mistaken. Swept up in emotion, I'd let myself feel a ridiculous sense of relief. This is no time to be happy or at ease. I need to cool my blood. SHT. I can't afford to fall out with Director Ho now. Failing the mission and dying in a month? Sure, that's a big deal. But what's more important is completing the mission and getting the wish token. But if things go on like this, wouldn't it be too clear a betrayal? If I want to carry out Director Ho's mission, this won't work. No way. I turned to look at Agent Choi. Could it be that even breaking my relationship with Director Ho was part of the plan? Grapes. Agent Choi didn't meet my gaze. Instead, with the same smiling face, he inserted his ritual blade and checked its edge. While saying this, but on the way back, there's somewhere the Disaster Management Bureau's Agent Grapes needs to stop by. Sorry? The blade spun gently in the agent's hand. You were caught in some strange binding spell that the Bureau didn't know about. Since an agent was under some unknown spell, we need to properly investigate what happened. That's the protocol. Safely. In the isolation zone, what he held with the blade came into view. A small glass bead. Get in. The same one I'd seen a few days ago. The makeshift glass prison. No. Wait. Thud. Before I could even finish speaking, countless hands shot out from the void created by Agent Choi's bead and grabbed hold of me. Agent SHH. This time, the ambush happened so suddenly and thoroughly, I didn't even have a chance to resist. If you're cooperative with the interrogation process, you'll be released quickly. Don't worry. I clenched my teeth and looked at him. Agent Choi blocked Agent Bronze, who was about to rush over in shock, with his blade. It's a bit late, but everything will be fine. Agent Choi, what is this? Just a moment. Agent Choi looked back at me and spoke quietly. Get some rest. Grapes. I was sucked into the void, and just like that, I was transferred to the glass prison. Chapter 202. MTL. An underground place of unknown location. A dark metallic space, resembling an evacuation shelter within a tunnel. Agent. This way, please. The agent from Black Tortoise Team 1 moved according to guidance. The Disaster Management Bureau's glass prison didn't employ human guards. An unknown supernatural force without sound or form served as the guard, with one employee at a time taking shifts to monitor its condition. The attendant asked cautiously, "You're here for the interrogation of Agent Grapes?" "No, prisoner 37, 999? I see. This way, please." Following the careful guidance, the agent entered through the iron door, avoiding the guard. Inside, there was a crystal cave! Numerous quartz crystals refracted light, creating myriad shadows and forms throughout the cave. Curiously, there was no visible source for this reflected light. A feast of light and shadow without origin. Click. The cell is here. The attendant willingly opened a rusted door in the corner. Yet, there was no one visible inside. Instead, countless glass marbles covered the walls, creating structures of refracted light. The agent gazed at it with darkened eyes. Glass marbles stacked layer by layer filled the space, forming a conical structure that appeared almost decorative. Yet, within each marble, something was moving. Let me out, let me out, let me out, please. I've been betrayed. Am I going to die here? Imprisoned prisoners. The observer, standing before them, became like a giant capable of examining each individual trapped within the marbles, a strange structure reminiscent of a panopticon. This was the true nature of the glass prison, a sealed chamber formed by a single marble. In this crystal cave, whose exact location and existence were unknown except to authorized personnel, no one could leave unless the gatekeeper personally carried the marble outside. Even if one succeeded in breaking their marble and escaping, it wasn't true freedom. Just another marble, a circular structure, an eternal cycle of interconnected glass rooms. Here at the very top marble, I've heard special arrangements were requested, so the prisoner might feel a little more comfortable. Probably because they were originally an agent, the agent's eyes stopped precisely. The 37th floor, the very top marble, only one marble there with the identification label, 37 to 999. Inside the marble, a dark shadow was visible, but the figure lying on the floor was unmoving. My apologies for the lengthy explanation. Here are the previous interrogation records for 37 to 999. The agent carefully took the document handed over by the attendant and read it. Prisoner number, 37 to 999. Prisoner, Kim, agent name, Grapes. Team, Black Tortoise Team 1, Dispatch Rescue Unit. Status, suspended. Initially transported for a simple 24-hour psychological assessment, but due to unusual circumstances discovered during the initial interview, return delayed. Formal imprisonment under discussion. The agent's grip tightened briefly, then he turned the page. Click. Day 1. Prisoner transported to the glass prison as part of an inspection procedure for an agent who had undergone a special supernatural restriction. The restriction confirmed lifted. Entity involved, Dekaongbong Tiger General. A simple interview and physical examination conducted. One anomaly found during the interview. Prisoner voluntarily refuses all statements regarding the supernatural entity responsible for the restriction, its timing, or nature. Examination procedure halted. Switch to interrogation. Initially, the interrogation was mild. Questions about why the statements were refused, if there was physical pain, when the restriction occurred, and what type of restriction it was. Investigators cautiously proceeded, believing the prisoner was showing a trauma response due to shocking events. However, the response to all questions was singular. Prisoner entirely refused to answer any questions. Concern began to rise among the staff. Suspected of intentionally evading testimony, anticipating the interrogation methods of the glass prison. Thus, from the evening of day 2, the real interrogation began. Interrogation intensity. 3. Expert interrogators dispatched. Persistent, detailed questioning, trap questions, insinuations hidden within casual inquiries, questions structured so that silence itself was an answer. The intensity gradually increased. After 3 days, even the prisoner persistently evading all questions succumbed to the situation. Interrogation intensity. 7. The prisoner's body restrained. Head and eyes fixed to prevent avoiding gaze, and silence treated as affirmation. A gag employed during questions to prevent meaningless interjections as evasion. It became possible to ascertain clear yes or no answers from the prisoner. Thankfully, interrogation methods involving environmental pressure weren't employed, considering the prisoner's physical health, although this was not particularly effective. Day 5. Prisoner status, poor. Politely declined offers of sleep and food. Requested release, citing sympathy for their assigned goblin flame. Denied due to concerns over escape attempts and unforeseen incidents. However, items favored by goblins introduced into the cell for emotional stability. The prisoner expressed gratitude. Special note, interrogator's personal observation. It seems another restriction might be present. Recommend transfer to a specialist facility for further exorcism or ritual proceedings. However, directly asked if under another restriction, the prisoner clearly responded no, deemed truthful by the glass prison. This could be a suggestion making the prisoner believe they're not under any restriction. Despite the investigator's personal opinion, the transfer was withheld. Turning the page. Another day, the prisoner's condition worsened. Day 6. Prisoner status, poor. Provided special meal. Mung bean ginseng chicken soup was provided due to concerns about the health of the prisoner. Left untouched until the next day. No interview responses. Proposal for deeper interrogation via Nightmare Labyrinth suggested but strongly opposed by field agents. That's up to yesterday. The next pages were not records, but conjectures, speculations on the prisoner's identity. Information available only to current interrogators and marked absolutely prohibited for external distribution. Suspected of espionage, the agent tightened his hand. Based on limited truths revealed under extreme conditions, Prisoner's most avoided questions inferred, source of information. Purpose of employment at Disaster Management Bureau. Entity imposing the restriction. Vague pre-employment gap. Various contamination marks. Thus, a conclusion was drawn. But the document didn't end there. However, considering the prisoner's absence of moral defects, diligent completion of supernatural disaster tasks, and ethically verified behavior, coercive measures such as threats or spells are suspected. Because the information that can be confirmed through short answers is limited, strategies to induce a more cooperative attitude from the prisoner should be introduced. The agent turned the page. The final page included an appended note. The reason he is here now. Special note: an agent from Black Daughters Team 1, who initially transported the prisoner, strongly volunteered to interrogate over several days but was rejected due to protocol violation. Another agent from Black Daughters Team 1, also at the scene, confirmed as interrogator. Permission expected. Preparation is complete. Agent Ryu Jekwin lowered the document and approached the glass marble for interrogation. I blinked. A transparent ceiling was visible. Inside the narrow, hemispherical space were a bed, desk, chair, a few books, and food arranged neatly. Beyond appeared as fog, invisible. Yet the wall's transparency was clear. So this is it, the glass prison. Long ago, a goblin won a magnificent tile-roofed house in a game against Kim So-bang. But Kim So-bang devised a trick and expelled the goblin. Angry, the goblin created a small marble, free from deceit, and invited Kim So-bang inside for another game. The goblin won again, repeatedly, until taking everything: house, wealth, family, even name and lifespan. Finally, leaving Kim So-bang with nothing, the goblin gifted him the marble and cave. That defeated figure remains guarding the marbles even now, preventing any deceitful tricks. The Bureau used this system for imprisonment, combining supernatural phenomena related to judgment. Here, all supernatural phenomena were nullified, leaving only clear, precise reality. No supernatural actions could occur. But now, I couldn't sleep. Tension and resignation pulsed through me. Another interrogation approached, and I braced myself. And then someone appeared beyond the glass wall. Prisoner 37 to 999! Agent Bronze. Ryu Jekwin stood beyond the glass, eyes dark. The interrogation begins. A question I hadn't anticipated at all emerged. Where is your home? The Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau used this to build the glass prison system. These mysterious glass beads that block all supernatural phenomena, and the gatekeepers that guard them. They say some kind of supernatural element related to the afterlife and judgment was mixed in as well. Whatever, it didn't matter. What mattered was this: the place I'm trapped in now can only contain clean, precise reality. Inside here, supernatural beings can only exist, nothing more. Any action that defies the logic of reality cannot occur. As if this were reality outside the wiki. Here, even items are useless, and tattoos are just tattoos. All they took during the body search was the glass handgun I had tucked away. My inventory tattoo wasn't even activated, so there was nothing for them to check. But in that same sense, this place could be considered the safest possible space. There's no risk of suddenly getting pulled into a ghost story. After all, from a purely rational perspective, Agent Choi was right. It should be safe to rest here. I even heard there were people who voluntarily confine themselves here to escape things like curses or death. But I can't afford to rest. My whole body pulsed with a mix of tension and resignation, just like the past few days of interrogation. The interrogations in the glass prison kept getting more intense. I've been desperately dodging their questions, but they've already squeezed a fair amount out of me. They must suspect something. That I'm suspicious. That maybe I'm a spy. If so, they might start using even stronger methods now. The Bureau can be utterly ruthless when it comes to selected wrongdoers. Just thinking about the interrogation methods I do know made cold sweat trickle down my spine. From the housing play onwards. Damn it. Maybe Agent Choi expected me to confess everything from the start. Once the ban was lifted, maybe he hoped I'd resign myself, Since I couldn't go back to Hoisa anyway, the problem is, my secrets don't stop there. There are things I know that can't be explained just by calling me a spy. I don't even know how much I'll end up confessing, or what'll happen to me if I do. Things like my original world, the dream incubation chamber, various contaminations, and the dark exploration logs. If I was going to confess, I should have done it from the beginning, kept it simple, stopped at the spy explanation. But in that case, what would have happened to Yong-un and Hyo-un? They're ones who came in with me. What about my wish token? That was the best option at the time, but even as I tell myself that, I know the truth. I'm nearing my limit. Exhaustion sinks in, but I force myself to stay alert. Soon, it will come, that nerve-wracking interrogation session, full of traps and bait. I swallowed hard, trying to calm my nerves, and carefully went over in my mind the things I must never say. And then I heard the sound of glass shifting. From beyond the glass wall, a figure approached, the interrogator, appearing on the other side. But it wasn't the same person as yesterday's officer. Inmate 37 to 999! Agent Bronze. Ryu Jaguan stood on the other side of the glass with somber eyes. Wait. Agent Bronze is today's interrogator? The method had changed. I tensed and quickly took in the situation. Agent Bronze didn't avoid my gaze. He spoke slowly. Pre-interrogation notice. You are free to tell lies. However, every lie will be transparently revealed. I know that. In the glass prison, if you lie, the truth automatically appears on the glass. Only silence can protect you. A note from an inmate from the dreamscape. So I couldn't say a word because lying here is no different from confessing the truth. But even my silence would seem suspicious. They'd wonder if I already understood how this prison works. Of course, and that is the truth. Even I would have suspected me. I clenched my jaw as I stared at Agent Bronze. So they've decided to use someone I know as the new direction for this interrogation. It was, in its own way, a merciful approach. But I couldn't deny it was also effective. We will now begin the interrogation. I swallowed dryly, and then, a completely unexpected question came. Where is your home? Chapter 203. MTL. Home. My destination. The reason I want to use the wish ticket. A strong yearning to escape this world and return to the place I once belonged to. Commonly referred to simply as, I want to go home, only in my head. Something I'd never openly discussed before had suddenly been drawn out. During the interrogation. Where's my home? I forced myself to loosen my grip on the chair. I must not lie. Why are you suddenly asking about that? I heard you value your home. From whom? No, I remembered. So, what wish are you hoping to fulfill? To go home. Agent Choi must have told him. I recalled the hellish night I met Director Ho in the taxi, and the subsequent conversation with Agent Choi. Home. Up until that point, it was assumed to be a personal conversation unrelated to suspicions of espionage. Still, why did he mention it openly? Isn't it dangerous? Even if Agent Bronze knows, nothing changes. I changed the subject. Can I tell you where I commute to and from work? No. That's not your home. Agent Bronze silently looked at me. I know you're staying at a motel. I've already confirmed your room has almost nothing personal, let alone furniture, just a few sets of clothes. It felt like something private I'd been keeping secret was exposed. You can't call that home. No, you've deliberately kept it that way. You didn't even apply for the Disaster Management Bureau's staff dormitory. Why is that? An unanswerable question. Agent Grapes, you don't have to answer any of my questions. Just know this. Beyond the glass wall, Agent Bronze spoke clearly. This conversation is strictly for my personal use. No recordings or separate records will be made. Only I will hear this. I raised my head. Agent Bronze, meeting my gaze, nodded slightly, placed down his documents, and spoke. I never had a home in the first place! My parents divorced when I was young. After my mother died, I grew up in an orphanage. Wait. Even though I lived, ate, and slept there, I never considered it home. Instead, I thought of the villa I had lived in with my mother. Even though I hardly remembered it, I felt it strongly. Personal stories poured into my ears. Stories of a past not recorded on the wiki. No, not stories from anyone. Agent Bronze. An acquaintance's personal history. Then, while commuting to school, I encountered a supernatural disaster. That was my first meeting with the Disaster Management Bureau. When I asked how to work there, they just laughed. After hearing his story, the Bureau introduced him to a safe, student-friendly job. It was a strange bookstore managed by the Bureau. I went to night school while working there. As soon as I finished college, I passed the Bureau's exam immediately. Agent Bronze looked directly at me. That's why I'm here now. Now, when I hear home, I think of the waiting room at Black Tortoise Team 1, the dormitory at the Bureau, and the faces of people around me. So, I'd like to ask you this question. Agent Bronze quietly asked. Agent Grapes, is your home no longer in this world? Exclamation mark. It existed originally, but you've lost it? I thought I heard words left unsaid, like me. Unlike during previous interrogations, I wasn't restrained. I could have avoided answering. But yes, exclamation mark. It doesn't exist here. A glimmer appeared in Agent Bronze's eyes. Did you work at Daydream because you wanted that home back? It's slightly different. I carefully formed my response. I want to return home. Agent Bronze was briefly silent, pondering my meaning. But then, Agent Grapes, his voice was firm. You can't return to a place that's already gone. There are only those who'll exploit your hope to return. Don't let them use you. You're stronger than that. No, I knew he was wrong. The wish ticket was real. I understood his meaning, but it didn't apply to me. Can't a home be rebuilt? Exclamation mark. Just as I did, I stared blankly, feeling as if struck in the head. Meet good people, find a comfortable place, and build somewhere you can rest peacefully. Agent Bronze declared clearly, that place will be your home, as though he considered the Bureau's cozy waiting room his own home. Advice from someone experienced felt refreshingly certain. Therefore, I don't necessarily expect you to be that certain, but I hope you'll at least consider it. Can you? I nodded slowly. The glass wall showed no reflection. Truth. Relief gently softened Agent Bronze's expression. Good. That concludes today's interrogation. Rest well today. I couldn't believe myself either. How was I answering seriously? Yet, the atmosphere was unexpectedly gentle, and my mind felt calmer, as if I'd made a decent choice. And Agent Bronze asked no further questions. Eat well and sleep well. I'll be your interrogator for the next week. There'll be no harsh interrogations, just rest. He assured he'd provide necessities, excluding dangerous regulation-breaking items. No falsehood in his words. It seemed I wouldn't be sent into a nightmare labyrinth immediately. Few. To avoid interrogation traps, I'd eaten minimally and tried desperately not to sleep, but now my wakefulness was fading rapidly, as fatigue was about to overwhelm me. And this is a personal question. His voice hesitated slightly. Do you hold a grudge against Agent Choi? Exclamation mark. I'd understand. He moved you immediately to prison after your restriction lifted, without consulting anyone. Agent Bronze's voice briefly held suppressed anger. Seems like they argued, quickly hiding it. Agent Bronze continued, but Agent Choi never intended to abandon you here. Instead, he had continuously volunteered to interrogate me to communicate directly. However, being the one who imprisoned you, his objectivity score failed during his first interrogation application. Exclamation mark. Fortunately, I passed. I was unsure what to say today, but, Agent Bronze slightly bowed his head. I'm relieved you answered. See you tomorrow. Agent Bronze again urged me to rest and vanished into the mist beyond the glass wall. I was left alone in the glass prison again, accompanied only by the goblin flame. Yet, not tension, but a dazed numbness lingered, as though struck, and I considered the conversation again. Live here? Give up on returning home? He suggested creating a new home here, as an agent of the Disaster Management Bureau. Is this interrogation bait? Given Agent Bronze's character, he likely wouldn't employ such deceptive tactics. Then, it must be genuine. With an implied condition, the Bureau hadn't judged me an enemy, and they hoped I'd continue working here. Goodness. This situation seems unexpectedly decent. Perhaps, with Agent Bronze as interrogator, I could confess to minor espionage, protecting my deeper secrets and safely leave this prison, and maybe continue working here, living as an agent of the Bureau. Continuing work with Black Daughters Team 1, spending days with good people doing good work. If it became too difficult, maybe being entirely honest about my fears would get me transferred elsewhere. That's not bad at all. No, it actually felt appealing. Building a new home. No. I slapped my thigh audibly. I shouldn't decide rashly while exhausted. Agent Bronze assumed I'd lost my home through an accident or disaster. I shouldn't misunderstand. My home exists. Safe. Returning was difficult but not impossible. I could do it. Moreover, I knew it wasn't wise to settle permanently in this Records of Darkness world. Do you remember the wiki subtitle? Prophecy of Apocalypse, Records of Darkness. Indeed. I shouldn't stay long because this world, from the beginning. Oh dear. A polite, cheerful male voice. Your head seems troubled, friend! Exclamation mark. I jolted upright. Hallucination? A hallucination? Could a hallucination sound this clear? Perhaps you missed Braun terribly, causing a slip of perception. The smooth voice was too real for imagination. I quickly pulled it from my pocket. A small rabbit doll. Chills ran down my spine. How could it speak? Supernatural phenomena were completely blocked here. Supernatural beings could still exist. Like the goblin flame trembling on the wall now. Thus, good friend, the being here, wasn't just a doll, but recognized as a sentient entity. Yes, indeed. We've often chatted in your everyday life, haven't we? You can't treat a close conversation between friends as a mere trick. How hurtful, Mr. Dear. This is truly disappointing. The host, who had been speaking in a cheerful tone, faltered as he added the final comment, as if realizing something. Yes. It's disappointing. Seems like my friend isn't happy to see me. Even though it's been a week since we last spoke, I thought my friend would be delighted, like someone eagerly awaiting and finally watching a weekly show that airs on the same day. Then, has this stuffed doll been deliberately silent for an entire week, as if lying? There you go again. Calling me a stuffed doll. A chill crept up the back of my neck. Well, it doesn't matter. The great talk show host, the show entertainer, must graciously accept any nickname or insult, if that's what the public chooses. If that's what my dear friend chooses. The host's voice rang out cheerfully, echoing like the sound bouncing off a glass orb, like a mixed reverb. It echoed. Very well. I must put on a marvelous show for my friend, who has had a tiring and difficult few days. Surprise. Look up, my friend. I stiffly moved my head. Right in front of me, from the glass wall where the bronze agent had stood. Let me introduce the glass prison escape method. A video began playing. Like a screen! Exclamation mark. Isn't this far cooler than the children's cartoon we were supposed to watch together? Haha, oh my. You're surprised, aren't you? That's okay. Oh? Paranormal phenomenon, you say? I don't know what that means. Watching TV is the most natural, everyday thing, wouldn't you agree? Now then, let's begin the show. Then, an image appeared on a glass wall before me. Introducing, How to Escape the Glass Prison, Chapter 204. MTL. From the glass wall, an animation began to flow. Oh no, I've been trapped in a weird prison. Where is this place? Aha! It's inside the Crystal Cave in City. Thanks, Braun. What? You're even telling me how to escape? Thanks so much. We really are the best of friends. A miniaturized classical animation. The protagonist, dressed exactly as I am, converses with a rabbit doll. Strange. Very strange. I turned my head, but the animation appeared there as well. Of course. Just break the glass marbles around me, kill the prisoners, and lure out the guards. The animation followed my gaze no matter where I looked, as if it followed my gaze. It was appearing on every glass wall around me. There's such an easy way. You're amazing, Braun. The rabbit doll, sized exactly like the animated protagonist, cheerfully moved through the scenes explaining how to escape, how to move within glass marbles, torture guards, maps, and escape routes, all described with terrifying detail and chilling cruelty. It was explained with the cheerful simplicity of a children's educational animation. Oh, that's right. Perfectly suits your preferences, doesn't it, Rodear? Great immersion effect. Wonderful indeed. The excessively cute children's animation vividly depicted blood, screams, dismembered guards, and fleeing Disaster Management Bureau personnel. It ended with the animated protagonist and rabbit doll Brawn high-fiving each other. Great. That's how you escape. The final line echoed, followed by clapping. Clap, clap, clap. The crisp sound of colliding gloves. Phew. A short but spectacular journey. What do you think, friend? Ready to escape as Mini Brawn showed you? A strong, dramatic, classical, and therefore more chilling, animation from the TV. I'm becoming accustomed to Brawn's style, but there's one thing I've noticed. Oh, don't worry. As I've said, watching TV is an everyday activity. No, I noticed the rabbit doll's shadow. You haven't violated the glass prison's rules in that way. Oh? Because you're projecting the animation from outside the glass prison. Just like when I talked with Agent Brawn standing outside. You got the idea from that, didn't you? It's circumvented the rules that way. You just staged it as if it were happening inside the prison to make it more shocking. After a brief silence, my goodness, correct again, friend. Your keen eye and brilliant deductions are surely a magician's nightmare. What an outstanding talent. Every time I witness it, I feel amazed. However, that's not important now. I haven't heard your thoughts on the show yet. So, what do you think? I finally spoke. There's something I'm curious about. Oh? About the escape? No, that's not it. What I wanted to know was, just how much of my thoughts do you actually know? Aha. Just enough needed for understanding between friends. I see. It was the kind of answer I expected. Since the late-night talk show incident, I'd realized that Brawn was reading quite a bit of my mind, possibly even things I casually thought about. It seemed even the glass prison escape method animation was created based on that. However, that's the extent of it. Rodear, your tone feels somewhat absurd. Oh, haha. Surely it's my misunderstanding. You can't mean Brawn doesn't understand his friend enough? No. A small laugh escaped my lips. I mean, you only understand exactly as much as you need. Selective understanding based on the most important criterion for himself. Entertainment. A cheerful voice responded, for an entertainer, nothing matters more. And this was indeed something you willingly promised. You explicitly said you'd entertain me. Right. But, I was mistaken about something. Mistaken? Could you share what you mean? I held back a sigh. Now I could see it clearly. I unconsciously thought you'd prioritize my situation over the joy of the show. Honestly, it was an absurd expectation. I didn't know why I'd expect that from a strange talk show host within a ghost story, but sharing so many secrets and events, and even escaping the talk show through agreement, had formed some irrational trust beyond rational judgment. That vague feeling of somehow it would be okay. I'd even forgotten my own logic, for the sake of a more entertaining show, that I'd repeatedly used to persuade him. But after receiving help at critical moments, emotional bias was inevitable towards this good friend. It was a unilateral trust formed inductively. I won't expect that anymore. Frankly, saying this was pointless. I'd just be more careful. Still, this much was okay to say, right? Earlier, you said you felt disappointed. I felt similarly. Oh dear. Brawn sighed. So that's it. I suspected as much. All right. Rodear, you were deeply disappointed when I refused your help a few days ago. Phew. What a misunderstanding. Brawn only intended to give you the best possible assistance. Think about it carefully. His voice lowered. If I'd helped you directly at that moment, what would have happened? You would have disappeared like magic. Then you wouldn't have been able to continue your wonderful spiral and would have had to escape without context. I'm going crazy. Imagine all the stories you've built so far abruptly ending meaninglessly. Is there a more futile conclusion than that? Is that really what you wanted? I doubt it. Well, just then, the goblin flame, previously stuck to the wall, approached. Huh? What's wrong? I cautiously lifted it with one hand. It courageously stretched itself out, forming a gesture towards the rabbit doll. One thumbs down. Then, hiding its head, probably, against my side. Oh, dear. Don't get angry. It's entertaining, right? Then you have to accept it. Sorry, but isn't it similar to what you said? It felt somewhat crazy, but openly saying this actually made me feel better. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Your actions weren't wrong. Braun's response was as expected. Anyway, from now on, I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd just be satisfied having a conversational partner who could probabilistically help. Friend, you don't trust me, all right. Misunderstandings always accompany any relationship. I'll try to endure this as well. There were several discontented footsteps, then silence. That surprised me a little. I didn't expect him to tolerate it. Maybe because there's more important things to focus on. There's something more urgent than arguments between involved parties. Watching my friend being confined in this small, stuffy room longer is not pleasant. Escape. Are you ready? I stood up. Inside the small glass marble, a circular solitary confinement room was visible. The escape method shown in the animation was already vividly etched into my mind. Strangely, I now knew exactly how to cause terrible havoc escaping from this notorious glass prison. It would surely be an irregular event worthy of being recorded in the Dark Exploration record. But no. I deliberated and reached my conclusion. I'd choose the best method currently available. You can't possibly mean you're going to stay for interrogation? Actually, yes. I sat back in my chair. I'll go through the interrogation. Agent Choi lowered his head. Prisoner number, 37 to 999. Name, Kim. Agent name, Grapes. Team, Black Tortoise Team 1. Dispatch Rescue Unit. Status, on hold. Within his hands were the updated interrogation records. With each page turned, he saw the grim record of the past week. Refusal to testify, declining health, and increasingly extreme interrogations. But after that painful phase, a change began appearing, eventually leading here. Day 8. Prisoner status, poor, recovering. Significant changes in the prisoner's attitude observed following the previous day's interrogation. Non-cooperative behaviors, such as deliberately creating audio-visual disturbances or consistently refusing to respond, greatly decreased during questioning sessions. Increased sleeping and eating durations closer to recommended amounts were noted. Observed engaging in activities such as caring for the goblin flame or checking on the doll he had been carrying, referred to as a friend. Change attributed to the introduction of a friendly agent as the new interrogator. These changes began following Ryu Jekwan's arrival. Personal note by the investigator: the prisoner appears to be regaining stability. It would be more efficient to draw out natural confessions rather than intensify the interrogation. Most of the involved staff agreed unanimously with this assessment. The records continued to accumulate in this trend. Day 9. Prisoner status, poor, recovering. Special meal, beef rib soup, approved. The interrogator shared the same meal with the prisoner while conducting the session. The prisoner responded earnestly during questioning, admitted that his contamination marks originated from supernatural disasters experienced independently before joining the Disaster Management Bureau. The imprisoned individual gradually began discussing more topics, suggesting deeper conversations with the interrogator. Topics ranged from personal history and character, positive feelings, towards the Disaster Management Bureau, fear of supernatural disasters, and feelings of relief and fulfillment experienced when rescuing civilians. Thus, several more days passed. Eventually reaching this point, day 12, the prisoner testified to previously working at corporation, confirmed experiencing external coercion during the Disaster Management Bureau's recruitment process, and stated there were additional, separate objectives required to be achieved during employment. However, it was established as truthful that an extremely powerful supernatural restriction, near death in severity, was placed upon the prisoner, who had no intent to harm the Bureau. Additionally, no actual damage had occurred to the Bureau during their employment. confirmed the prisoner has a desire to continue working at the Bureau regardless of the initial reasons for employment. Interrogator reported these statements to higher authorities. Agent Choi steadied his trembling hand briefly and flipped to the next page, the final page, day 13. Prisoner status, good. Furthermore, the testimonies secured during interrogation passed credibility testing, approved the release of prisoner 37 to 999, Agent Grapes, from confinement and reinstatement as an agent scheduled for release tomorrow, and that tomorrow was precisely today. Agent Choi closed the record. He felt tension and relief intertwining across his weary face. He'll be out soon. Right. Please stop pacing. Agent Choi stopped, but plans clearly formed in his mind. It isn't over yet. Given that he officially confessed that he was a spy, there would likely be tough procedures. It would be both a punishment and recognition of him continuing to be an agent. Kim So-Lium would undergo them as an agent of Black Tortoise Team 1. So I can help him. That was crucial. That was what mattered. Now, the person responsible for the glass prison would retrieve the marble containing Agent Grapes, remove the restriction, and hand him over to them. Then they'd have an honest conversation about Daydream Corporation, and perhaps discuss the secrets, items, and abilities he'd concealed. We can handle all of that slowly. What was important now was that the interrogation had concluded successfully, and Kim So-Lium had regained stability. It had been a long and complicated journey, but they'd finally reached a successful conclusion. Agent Choi released a deep breath of relief. The stressful 2 weeks were finally over. He couldn't count how many things he'd had to do to reach this point. And Jaekwon, thanks. You worked really hard. Agent Bronze, who was sitting opposite him, nodded slightly. Although the gesture was characteristically curt, Agent Choi sensed the subtle warmth of reconciliation behind it and quietly looked at his junior. A faint smile appeared on Agent Choi's face, gratitude and remorse mingling. First, we should all visit to Hot Spring. Seriously, I'll cover all their expenses. Yes. Just as he gently patted Ryu Jaekwon's back. Knock, knock, exclamation mark. The door opened, and the prison attendant appeared. The confinement has been lifted. Then, yes, Agent Grapes is now waiting in the waiting room. Thank you. Agent Choi quickly shook the attendant's hand, then hurriedly moved his feet. Hold on a second. He already knew the waiting room's location. Agent Choi strode confidently into the cave, heading directly towards a marked iron door near the entrance. Kim So-Lium would be inside, but he still had no idea what he'd say first. To be honest, he still didn't understand what exactly had happened. What was that all about? Anyway, that bizarre laboratory, the appearance of the supernatural entity, everything was still unclear. But he knew one thing for certain: on the night the restriction was placed, Kim So-Lium had tried to save him, even at the risk of his own life. Therefore, I can just find out from now on. Agent Choi opened the iron door without hesitation, and the room was empty. Agent Choi froze only for a single moment before looking around the waiting room. There was only a white and strangely removed item on the iron chair. A neatly folded piece of paper lay on a metal chair, 2 words written on its front: resignation letter. Agent Choi picked it up. Small items fell onto the floor: candy, syringes, items clearly left behind, and then, he unfolded the letter, written in a neat, careful handwriting. Hello, Agent. I sincerely apologize for everything that has happened. I'm truly sorry. That's how Agent Grapes' letter begins. Chapter 205. MTL. The letter was matter of fact. I'm writing this to tell you about things I couldn't mention before. It was like a note left by someone departing for a while. Kim So-Lium wrote about spare glasses left on the sofa in Hyunmoo Team 1's waiting room, the flat rear tire of a bicycle in front of headquarters, and print ink still in delivery. It was too simple and fragmented to be a proper handover. There were traces of lingering attachments that appeared but vanished in the next paragraph. Yet this seemingly casual letter maintained a similar tone throughout, imperceptibly shifting to meaningful advice, content no rookie at the Disaster Management Bureau would know. Advice about supernatural disasters. Wearing silk clothes in the ironing area of the intersection laundry will no longer be safe after rescuing the citizen in the blue dress. It would be a good to make sure no agents enter wearing such material. These were ghost stories Black Tortoise Team 1 had investigated. The words seemed like insights he had figured out and deduced, yet strangely conveyed with the certainty of someone who had known them all along. But it was clear they were written out of concern and worry. The agent's eyes anxiously scanned through them. "And I apologize once more." The content became more personal. The events of the night when the taboo was placed were written very tactfully, in a way only those involved would understand, as if being considerate to someone who might still be under a restriction. This was followed by gratitude and apologies to Agent Bronze, who had allowed him to speak the unadorned truth without pushing him. And then, "I still want to go home. As a farewell. I can't give up without even trying to return, but I feel heavy-hearted for wasting the Disaster Management Bureau agent's time because of my feelings. I apologize again for not living up to expectations and for resigning like I'm running away instead of diligently accepting disciplinary action. Though it may be uncomfortable, I've enclosed items I found useful. I hope they can be used by Black Tortoise Team 1. He had detailed the performance and effectiveness of the items he left behind. And finally, I'm writing this just in case. The writing I left on Black Tortoise Team 1's waiting room whiteboard is nothing. I wanted to tell you it's okay to erase it comfortably, in case you felt uneasy about erasing it thinking it might be a hint or remark. It's just something I left impulsively with no other meaning. The letter ended. The agent frantically flipped the pages back and forth. There was a small note at the end of the back page. "Thank you always. I wish you health and happiness." The reader lowered their gaze to look at the fallen items, then bent down slowly to pick up one of the small trinkets. It looked like a cheap candy, but it was an item that could temporarily turn back one's condition to better times. Many things that would be invaluable to the emergency response team gleamed on the floor. Agent Choi looked up. The downcast eyes of the two Black Tortoise Team 1 agents met. If he had disappeared just now, there was a high chance he hadn't yet escaped from this place. "Wait, agents." They ran out of the waiting room with a startled staff member to search the Crystal Cave. And Kim Solom, who had been standing motionless in the corner of the room, hidden within the shadow of Lights Out, quietly followed them out. With just a sheet of paper in his hand through the door crack the agents had opened to enter this room. "That's an elegant and courteous exit. Not a bad approach." I quietly looked at the sunlight pouring down. "So this is how I left." I tried my best to end things safely and gently. But honestly, I don't know how the Disaster Management Bureau will take it, and what Black Tortoise Team 1 will think. I walked faster, trying not to recall the faces of the agents I had just passed by. I didn't forget to thank the host who had kept the lights off for me all the way from leaving the Crystal Cave, walking to the bus stop, and taking the express train. Oh, don't mention it. Thanks to that, I was able to slip away quietly like this. If he hadn't helped, I would have had to escape in a more complicated and emotionally difficult way. The train will depart soon. I tried not to think about it, how much they would search the Crystal Cave after I left, how they would handle the items I left behind, how suspicious the Disaster Management Bureau would find me, whether Black Tortoise Team 1 would erase their writing I left in the waiting room. Instead, I tried to sleep. Fortunately, the high-speed train to Seoul didn't evoke the terror of the Tamra trip, and I barely managed to fall asleep before waking up. And to prevent any potential tracking, I checked into any random motel using cash. Thud. Only after closing the door could I gather my thoughts and start taking stock. Reality was finally sinking in. Did I leave almost everything behind? Only 1 or 2 consumable items remained. I had especially left behind many things purchased from the space shopping mall that guaranteed safety, probably because I wouldn't need them anymore. It's right that people who are more likely to get hurt than me should use them. What's left are just a few equipment items and tattoos. However, pop, a small light bounces out from my chest. A will-o'-the-wisp. Are you really going to keep following me? The flame moves up and down vigorously in agreement. This one stuck with me all the way to Seoul. It even left behind the glass lantern it had inhabited. Though this was less troublesome considering my concern about being tracked. Everyone will worry. You belong to the Bureau. The will-o'-the-wisp sparkles as if refuting me. It says it's all grown up so it'll be fine. Good heavens. Such a persistent and foolish creature. Phew. According to Braun's reluctant translation, it can recharge on its own, albeit slowly. It says it can recover faster if there's energy from sacred lightning, but that would be hard to find, wouldn't it? Anyway, the will-o'-the-wisp's decision seems absolutely firm. Then I'll be counting on you for a little while longer. The will-o'-the-wisp sparkles happily as it circles the motel room once. To be honest, it wasn't just troublesome. So at least one remained, a trace that I had belonged somewhere, evidence of the days spent with good people. Let me keep it for a while. It won't be for long anyway. I stroked the will-o'-the-wisp once, then let it transform into my right arm. Now you're free again, Miss Dear. You can go anywhere. Where will you go? Strictly speaking, isn't it actually the opposite? I'd be lucky if I'm not wanted by the Supernatural Disaster Management Bureau, and I'm already a dead person to Daydream Corporation. The places I could contact and go to were limited. Agent Choi even discovered the Dream Cultivation Room at the Cheerful Research Institute. Even if he couldn't tell the Disaster Management Bureau about that cultivation room because of the restrictions, he himself could come anytime. I would have to take precautions, but I needed to be careful. But I didn't leave without a plan. I have a plan. Indeed. The problem is that it's a very uncomfortable plan. I turned on the phone I had kept in my tattoo. 2 weeks of abandoned contacts appear. Fortunate it wasn't discovered during the interrogation. I almost risked exposing Ms. Young-un or Mr. Hyun's identities. It was actually fortunate that I put my phone into the tattoo as soon as I was caught in Jason Village, and that the tattoo lost its function in the glass prison. I sighed in relief as I scrolled through the message items. They were mostly promotional texts, but among them, there were several accumulated messages from an acquaintance. Hey, are you okay? When will you tell me what you found out? Hey, if you're sick, if you have a problem, contact me. It was the security guard. Somehow it feels strange. It seems like I'm always just receiving worry and help from this person. Come to think of it, I haven't been able to contact him since the restriction was placed. After some consideration, I replied, I'm sorry, I had some issues. Everything is fine now. And after some internal conflict, I sent one more. Thank you again for looking up that information for me. Would it be possible to hear about it tomorrow or the day after? Let's eat something delicious too. The message was seen quickly, but the reply came slowly. Okay, that's done now. Now it was time to do what needed to be done. I set my destination, not because I wanted to, but because there was no better option and because preparations were already in place. Please prepare the wish coupon. I found the information you wanted. To Director Ho, Mr. Solium, you're back. I looked up. Director Ho was sitting at the familiar waiting room table of the Fox counseling room, smiling. My insides churned reflexively. A revulsion at making this choice in the first place. A strange sense of guilt, like I was betraying someone who had even removed the restriction for me, but at the same time, an appreciation for this paradoxical situation where I could now negotiate more properly because the taboo was gone. I've come to receive the wish coupon. Just a moment, I'd like to tell you this first. Director Ho, still wearing a gentle smile, hesitates awkwardly. It gave me more chills. I think I went too far with the taboo about your death. I'm embarrassed that I made a somewhat emotional choice given the circumstances at the time. It's good that it's gone now. Don't you agree? I recalled the strange ritual that General Tiger of Dekaongbong was performing. And Director Ho, who had been exhibiting bizarre reactions through Deputy Yuna's body. Even if I'm curious or worried about the deputy, I shouldn't ask. My familiarity or concern being noticed by Director Ho would more likely harm Deputy Yuna. My stomach twisted, so instead of readily nodding to Director Ho's words, I answered carefully, it doesn't matter. Regardless of the taboo, a promise is a promise, so I've come to keep my promise to you. Director, is that so? That would be impossible. You don't even know exactly what extinction-level disaster I requested. Mr. Solium. That's right. Director Ho had said he would provide more detailed information once our spies could access the secret archives underground in Gangwon province. But 1 No. 2 could already guess what Director Ho was going to demand. I found it through deduction. Just tell me the name of the disaster. If the information I've brought doesn't match, I'll accept punishment. There's no risk for Director Ho anyway. He could tell me and impose a taboo or punish me. Anyway, the situation has changed, and now I no longer have fellow agents who could remove a taboo for me. So, all right. I thought so. Director Ho smiled and interlaced his fingers. The name of that supernatural disaster is Segwang Special City. Oh, don't try to pronounce it outside the Fox counseling room. Something bad will happen. Director Ho looks into my eyes. So, does it match the information you brought? I didn't avoid his gaze. Yes! Exclamation mark. Here it is. Plop. A document was placed on the table of the Fox counseling room's waiting area. These are documents regarding the extinction-level supernatural disaster you just mentioned. Please check. Director Ho reached out and picked up the paper to read. And! Exclamation mark. He closed the paper. Director Ho stares at me with a blank expression. How did you find out? So I was right. That's not important. The truth is, I didn't find it out. I already knew it. That's right. This was the reason I had confidently promised to bring the information within a month in the first place. Because I already knew the fastest and surest method. Writing down information from there. It was a method I had to prioritize because I couldn't possibly persuade or explain it to other spies. And because I feared Director Ho might become suspicious and do something terrible to me. I wanted to proceed as safely as possible, but with everything falling apart, there was only one way. I had to move quickly. If there were more delays, the Disaster Management Bureau would check for and try to root out other spies. If Ms. Young-un or Mr. Hyo-un were caught, they would never receive wish coupons and would suffer doubly, bound by Director Ho's taboo. I had to act quickly before that happened. However, you must have been imprisoned in the glass prison until yesterday. So where did you find this information? They wouldn't keep such information there, correct? In the crystal cave where the glass prison is being stored. They naturally don't keep valuable information. At most, reports on supernatural disasters were occasionally written for updates based on information obtained from prisoners. But that's why there are some office supplies for report work. For instance, things like this blank supernatural disaster report forms from the Disaster Management Bureau. Forms where the responsible branch has been censored in the report format, since they're written in a glass prison with undisclosed location. So, the most suitable paper for printing the contents of documents about extinction-level disasters stored in the secret archives. Ironically, my imprisonment in the glass prison gave me the opportunity to acquire what I needed most, and thus, I was able to present to Director Ho the Segwang Special City document that I created myself based on what I had read on the wiki, with limited information. But there's absolutely no need to tell Director Ho that. It would only be dangerous. I came prepared with some final countermeasures. Cold sweat forms on my back. Still, I have to speak. What matters is that I brought the promised information, and I definitely received help from 2 other people in this process. Now it's your turn to fulfill your promise, Director. A smile spread across Director Ho's face. Very well! Exclamation mark. Congratulations, Mr. Solium. On receiving the wish coupon, I clenched my fist. Chapter 206 MTL. A wish token. In this urban legend world where strange bad endings occur everywhere, this is the most certain method for me to return home. For this alone, I endured working at Daydream Corporation, and even endured becoming a spy. And now, Director Ho, who sits before me, is lightly clapping his hands as I've finally achieved the conditions to earn a wish token, as if applauding me. Clap, clap, clap. I'm so pleased that you'll actually receive the wish token. But haven't you ever thought about it? The clapping stops. What if Director Ho never intended to give you the wish token? What if he changes his words after you complete what Solium promised to? do, saying he'll give it to you after you accomplish something else. Using it as bait to manipulate you. Director Ho smiled gently. Haven't you ever thought about that? I have thought about it. I'd be a fool not to. In society, how many cases are there where people delay payment or refuse to pay after work is completed? Conversely, there are countless cases of people taking advance payment and not properly doing the work. And in this situation, the wish token was Director Ho's unilateral promise. And the promises of the powerful can be broken anytime. There's no penalty for breaking them. But still, I know that you value promises very seriously, Director Taboos. Director Ho was the type of supernatural being who binds others in the form of promises. Yes, it would be foolish to think of Director Ho as human at this point. And rules are an important element for supernatural beings. Speaking in terms of urban legend logic, it's probably to create an eerie atmosphere of horror and to give victims a false hope of escape. In any case, this makes the rules more reliable than if Director Ho were just an evil human, because there's a high probability he has to keep his promises. Even more so when I recall Director Ho's attitude when mentioning the trustworthiness of the counselor in the Fox counseling room, asserting it to an unnatural degree. He might use you with hidden purposes or set traps, but he doesn't make false promises. I faced the expressionless Director Ho. So, I judged that you would definitely keep what you promised with your own mouth. Clap. Of course. Director Ho clapped his hands and smiled. I always keep my promises. I don't make promises I can't keep. Absolutely not. Well then. Director Ho picked up the briefcase he had placed under the table and put his hand inside. Now you should receive your wish token. And something shining emerges. A small glass bottle! Exclamation mark. In the waiting area of the Fox counseling room, that comfortable place began to shimmer with a mesmerizing, surreal aurora-like radiance. This small bottle emits an overwhelming sense of mystery that's hard to believe. The wish ticket. This is for you, Solium. Tap. Go ahead. I reached out my hand, just before my arm could reach the wish token placed on the table. Oh, wait a moment. Director Ho smiles gently. It's not just one bottle, is it? Exclamation mark. Tap, tap. With the same smiling face, Director Ho takes out 2 more glass bottles with mesmerizing colors from his briefcase and places them on the table. A total of 3 bottles of wish tokens. Good heavens! A light like a wave of the Milky Way or the Orient of Pearls rippled across the table. Yes, these are the wish tokens for the other 2 employees who worked with you. You said it yourself, didn't you? That the other 2 also contributed sufficiently to this work. That's right. But he's just handing them over like this? Moreover, Director Ho wasn't finished speaking, but since you came as the team representative to report, I think it's appropriate that you collect them on behalf of the team. Exclamation mark. Wait a minute, are you saying I should receive all 3 bottles, and give 1 bottle each to the other 2? Well, you reported as a team. So wouldn't the distribution be up to their representative? I don't concern myself with that. A dark flame flickered in Director Ho's eyes, but the next moment, his face returns to a gentle smile as if nothing happened. I hope this wish token fulfills the wish deep in your heart, Solium. I opened my mouth. Don't you use them yourself, Director? Director Ho looked at me for a moment. That's something only regular employees can use. Unfortunately, executives are contract workers. That's the agreement. Director Ho's hand reached out slightly over the table as if wanting to touch the wish tokens, but was soon withdrawn. So, will you take them? Or I'm fine if you take them later. To receive all 3 bottles or to postpone all of them. In reality, I had only one choice. Yes, I'll take them. One nodded, and then, great. With a bright smile, Director Ho took out a box from his briefcase and began to package each of the wish token bottles that were placed on the table. The instructions for using the wish token are included in the box. I'll put them in one by one. Like a salesperson, Director Ho neatly and quickly organized the boxes, tied them with ribbons, put them in a bag, and pushed it toward me. Here you go. Thank you. Too picked up that bag. For a moment, I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. I did it. I finally began to realize that I had obtained it. It's in this black paper bag. I have the wish token in my hand. Take care, Solium. I'll contact you again. My head feels dizzy. I got up from my seat, and after politely bowing my head to Director Ho, who was waving his hand, I left the waiting area of the Fox counseling room. Creak. Behind me, I thought I heard the door to the Fox counseling room opening and closing as if someone had entered, and when I turned my head at the exit, there was no one at the waiting area table. All that remained were the 3 bottles of wish tokens in my hand. Oh, congratulations, friend. Now you just make a wish and blow out the candles, right? It would be nice if it proceeded that easily, but the problem is I have 2 more bottles in my hand. A little later, at a nearby cafe. How do I handle this? I sat down, clutching my bag, my mind racing wildly. It feels like I've put a check worth millions in my bag and gone out defenseless. Every time I was conscious of the wish token in my bag, I felt the urge to take it out and drink it immediately. But I needed to finish what I had to do first. I should contact Ms. Go Young-un. I just need to figure out some roundabout way to deliver the item. Then that colleague can also fulfill their desired wish and safely resign. They won't need to enter urban legends anymore. And I can save Mr. Jang Hyo-un too. Someone just needs to use a wish token to wish for Mr. Jang Hyo-un to be saved. Everything was perfect. So, once the distribution is finished, I'm going home. My heart pounds with anxiety and anticipation. I put my hand in my bag, touching the box while thinking about what I should handle first. For now, I needed a safe space. Ding! My smartphone rang and a message appeared. Today. Where should I go? The security team leader. We had agreed to meet this evening after sunset. It was to hear information. But now I didn't need the information anymore. Whether it was about the pleasure laboratory or the source of Daydream, it wouldn't matter once I leave this place. But leaving this urban legend world it also meant never meeting anyone I've met here again. After deliberating, I sent a message. I'd like to meet you here. And that evening, I met the security team leader in a corner seat of a famous donut shop that closed late. I had prepaid for donuts that usually sell out during the day and were now available. The security team leader's weary face brightened a bit when he saw their donuts. Thanks. Not at all. I'm the one who received a lot of help. To be honest, this is hardly enough to repay you. No, it's plenty. The security team leader eagerly stuffed donuts into his mouth with a slightly happy face and then casually dropped a bombshell statement about that information. The pleasure laboratory. It's still in their basement of our company! Exclamation mark. Wait, what do you mean? Exactly what I said. The security team leader looked at me. By the way, you've seen it too. Me? When we first met. When you were sucked into that scroll. You went to the bathroom on the 2nd basement floor! Exclamation mark. Don't you remember? I do. When I went down to the basement searching for the whereabouts of the missing manager Lee Byung-jin. Here, should there be safety equipment or facilities? I clearly remember thinking that. And then, Mr. Dear? That's right. Suddenly my good friend became able to talk. The strange Daydream basement with rows of offices was inside an urban legend. And that urban legend was actually Joy Laboratory. How did you find out? Well, we only referred to it by code name. Didn't know until I found some documents that hadn't been reviewed. The security team leader shrugged and continued. Anyway, even if you go further down the same office corridors. Keep repeating. You mean exactly the same corridors? Yes, the same offices. The structure and even the scratches are identical. So it is the same place. But it seems like the time periods are slightly different. Sounds of people chatting, shadows of people in intense meetings, employees gathering things, people fighting, even offices that look like dusty ruins. He says that every time you take the elevator down, the scenery changes as if you're playing a hidden picture game endlessly. How many basement floors are there? That's what we don't know. I personally went down to. Was it the 23rd floor? Below that, it's blocked off. I think there was a security team that went down to the 40th floor. But they died, so These were chilling descriptions. Those offices. It sent shivers down my spine. Why would Joel Laboratory be there? Why is it an urban legend? What is Daydream doing by building a company building on top of it? Various questions crossed my mind, but soon I realized none of it mattered, because I was leaving. And it seems the security team leader sensed this information. You don't need it anymore. The security team leader pulled his cap down. Well, if that's the case. And he easily guessed the most reasonable explanation for why a Daydream employee would lose interest in everything. Did you earn a wish token? I hesitated for a moment, but eventually nodded. A slight smile appeared on the security team leader's face. Pure congratulations. That's good. Do you know how to use it? Yes. After I nodded, the security team leader seemed to ponder for a moment before asking. Then, this time, are you really resigning? This was a question he could ask, knowing that my resignation wasn't real, but that I was working under Director Hoazakova. One nodded. I see. The security team leader lowered his head. Hey, later. Even after you resign. Maybe we could occasionally talk. I'd like that if it were possible, but it's not. I avoided his gaze. Given the nature of my wish, I'm not sure what will happen. The security team leader stopped speaking. A wish that changes the world? Yes. Then it can't be helped. So he knew after all. Yes, as a leader of an elite team, it would be more natural for someone obsessed with wish tokens in the field exploration team to know about this. The essence of wish tokens. You're asking if there are tips for drinking the wish token? There aren't any. Just drink it and make a wish. Everything comes true. At least from your perspective. From the advice of Team C's deputy manager. So it's like this. If the user wishes to become younger, they will become younger. If they wish for 10 billion won to be deposited in their account with no tax issues, it will happen. The wish token potion showed effects no different from a magic lamp in changing the user's state. But here's the thing. What if the wish is something very macroscopic? Wishes that go beyond changing one's personal state. For instance, let's say it's about time. Wishes like I want to go back to when I was young and lived happily with my parents, or I want to go to the moment my husband had a traffic accident and stop him. Or cases involving larger scales. Wishes like make the world end, I wish everyone would be kind, I wish for superconductors to be invented. Things like that. These are wishes that desire the transformation of the world surrounding me. Of course, the potion is effective in these cases too. Your wish is granted. However, it's only from your perspective. That is, it sends you to such a world. The wish token is an extremely personal potion, and its effectiveness is omnipotence for one person only. People who fulfill their wishes disappear from the world. Sometimes they remain, but that's when they fail to make their wish properly. Or when there's an unexpected loophole that makes the wish not macroscopic enough for the wish token to handle. In any case, under no circumstances does the wish token cause this world to undergo tremendous changes. Only people move. That's why the security team leader knows too that if my wish is big enough to change the world, I might leave this place entirely. That I might disappear. I faced the security team leader who had finished eating his donuts. Time was running out. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got up from our seats. I handed the security team leader the donuts I had asked the counter to prepare for takeout, along with an extra paper bag containing only a bread knife. By the way, what wish did you join this company for, Mr. J? The security team leader looked into the empty bag and said, I can't remember well. Don't worry about it, it's not that important. Next, I couldn't bring myself to ask any more. I eventually nodded and parted ways with the security team leader in front of the donut shop. The security team leader waved his hand, get home safely, and that was the end. Through the shadows, I realized that the security team leader stood still on the street for quite a long time. On my way back, I thought, I needed to say more goodbyes. Chapter 207. MTL. Oh no, you can send that to the team leader's desk, Agent Parker. Yes. Go Young unmoved the pile of documents she had just organized to her boss's desk. This was information about a new supernatural disaster that was recently witnessed. I have a brief moment of appreciation for the fact that the expression disaster is becoming more familiar than darkness these days. Phew. Go Young-un sat at her desk. Then, the chatter of agents sharing the same office could be faintly heard in the hallway. It happened. Hyunmoo Team 1. But I think that newbie would have been like that too. My nerves really got to the point. Just hearing that much, I could tell who it was about. It's been a hot topic among disaster management field agents for nearly 2 weeks, though they've been cautious about bringing it up. Grape agent. This is the story of her motives as a spy. Words about Kim Solom's imprisonment, release, and disappearance. Yes, that's right. Ko Young-un's motive was that she failed in her spy work and went missing. Can we say that it's fortunate that I didn't get caught? It seems that something happened when the gold medal the director Ho had been wearing was discovered, but it was difficult to ask about it in the quiet atmosphere. Things got a bit worse while he was in prison, but then recovered. And even after her disappearance, the atmosphere among the field agents toward Kim Solom wasn't that bad. That news from Hyunmoo Team 1 has decreased significantly. This was the only thing that Go Young-un could know for sure from her position as a new agent. Of course, it's difficult to find out anything more since Kim Solom disappeared as soon as she came out of the glass prison. Run away. You must have hit me, right? Even though Go Young-un's head would spin with worry, she would eventually finish with a sigh. You shouldn't leak information while trying to find out someone's whereabouts for no reason. If Kim Solom had successfully escaped, it was likely a nuisance, and it was a dangerous attempt that could even lead to her identity being revealed. It wasn't good for either of us, especially since she is quite familiar with Kim Solom and is also a new recruit. She might be under surveillance for safety reasons. I think I'm suspected of being a spy. I don't know. The people at the Disaster Management Agency were certainly good-natured, but they were also good at pretending nothing happened and getting to the heart of the matter as if nothing happened. Of course, because he's an agent. Anyway, unlike the spy's feelings of walking on thin ice, there was no particular change in the agent's attitudes. There was no such thing as being suddenly dragged into a glass prison. That's fortunate, but honestly, I feel lost. Of the 3 that entered, 1 was quarantined due to contamination, and 1 went missing. All that was left was himself, and it was practically impossible for a rookie to steal the Annihilation-level disaster documents on his own. If he were Director Ho, he would have cut ties at this point. But you have to hold on, and you have to do what you have to do. Go Young-un did the math calmly so as not to panic. One by one, calmly. First, let's clean up the traces more thoroughly. I only contacted Kim Solom through a smartphone that she had opened separately and that was in a different name. I decided that I had to sort that out too. So that evening, after work, she went back to her hostel and immediately looked for the air conditioner. Instead of hiding it carefully, I just left it in a drawer where I kept old stuff like my old phone. It was easier to just pass it by without noticing. And the moment you turn it on. Likewise, spam texts poured in, with numbers intentionally scattered here and there. Even Director Ho's contact, disguised as a recommendation for a counseling center, seemed like spam. Phew. It was when Go Young-un was clicking on the spam one by one and deleting them all. Don't just sit there and relax. Get off. Special discount Gangnam Station. At this station, the hand stopped. Wait for a second. Peace. Get off this station. I couldn't help but remember it as if I had been struck by lightning. Abyss Transportation Corporation's subway. This was a hint that only someone who had been through that crazy hiring horror story together would know. And at this point, who would send this as spam? There is only one. Go Young-un immediately clicked on the text. Don't sit still and get off. At this station, special discount Gangnam Station discount phone sales office, left counter only until 9 p.m. on the 17th, free reception rejection. Place and time. Go Young-un quickly searched the internet. A discount phone sales outlet located in Gangnam Station, and an hour later, Go Young-un discovers a storage locker near a discount phone sales outlet in Gangnam Station. At first, I thought they were asking me to meet in front of the store, but no one showed up even after 9 p.m., as stated in the text message. Then, when I looked at the left side of the store with my eyes on the left counter, the passage leading to the storage lockers immediately appeared. Here? She hesitated and then looked at the compartments of the storage locker. There was a 17th square, the number specified in the text. Then, in the password field, enter the combination of numbers and letters, 1721. Beep beep! Exclamation mark. The locker is open. Go Young-un hurriedly gathered up the card she had used to pay the fee and looked inside the locker. Inside, there was a small paper bag. There was a crooked note attached, as if it had been written by an unfamiliar hand on purpose. Open it at home. Go Young-un quickly packed the envelope and returned home. My heart was pounding. What? Given the circumstances, it was almost certain that the person who left this was Kim Solom. But what on earth are you handing over? Could this be the change in spy work policy to exchanging information through this? With these thoughts in her mind, Go Young-un opened the envelope at the table. 2 boxes? There was a black box. The moment Go Young-un opened one of the boxes, feeling puzzled. A rainbow of colorful light streamed out! Exclamation mark. The daydreaming staff closed the box in shock. Cow, wish. That crazy glowing potion like a holographic aurora must have been a wishing ticket. Mr. Kim Solom, did he solve the spy thing all by himself and get the wish ticket? No. How did he do it? Is this real? Is this real? The wish ticket is in the subway locker. Wait a minute. There were 2 boxes. The sound of a heartbeat rang in Go Young-un's head. Reaching into the other box. Let's open it. Likewise, a dazzling light comes out. Oh my god. But then, a small note fell out. Exclamation mark. I picked it up quickly. Ms. Yun-jun, our work is done. Do what you want. There is no need to return again. A shock so severe that it leaves one dizzy. But the note's contents were not over. P.S. If possible, please deliver the other box to the person who should originally receive it. If not possible, please keep it until then. No way. What if I had decided to steal it, and yet they just casually hand over 2 bottles of wish tickets with nothing but this note? But even while thinking that, this kind-hearted and intelligent spy already knew that she would keep this promise. Gratitude, a sense of debt, joy, and burden, all these emotions churned in her mind. And so, Go Young-un made one more decision. Then she grabbed something and rushed out of her home. It was delivered well. I looked at the bottom of my empty drink at the cafe. This was a cafe in their Gangnam Station underground shopping center. It had already been an hour and a half since I watched Ms. Go Young-un take the phone from their subway locker. There were no other unusual circumstances during that time, so it seemed like I could leave soon. It's done now. Ms. Go Young-un would surely return the wish ticket to its rightful owner without keeping it for herself. And since she was still working at the Disaster Management Agency, she would have more chances to approach him than I would. She seems to be more suited for the Disaster Management Agency anyway. Now that the spy work itself is over, she can continue working at the Disaster Management Agency if she wants. Fortunately, there was no surveillance from Disaster Management Agency agents. It seems to have wrapped up well. Now I have only 1 wish ticket potion left. So now if I drink mine, just as I was thinking that, a familiar figure ran back toward the storage lockers. Exclamation mark. It was Ms. Go Young-un. What went wrong? But Ms. Go Young-un calmly reopened locker number 17 where the wish ticket had been, put something inside, and closed it tightly. Then she left as if nothing had happened. What did she put in the locker? Could it be she returned the wish ticket that was meant for Mr. Jang Hyo-un? That could be the case. Even I would find it difficult to fulfill a request to deliver a wish ticket to someone else who's currently in quarantine and might not be seen again for one while. Right. It was an unreasonable request to begin with. After making sure Ms. Go Young-un had completely disappeared and confirming that there was no surveillance, I quietly left the cafe and headed to the storage locker and opened locker number 17. As I expected, there was a box inside. Can't be helped. I picked it up. But the weight was strangely different. Question mark. I quickly went to the bathroom and carefully opened the box in a stall. However, instead of the colorful light, a soft blue light appeared. A pale green light like a new sprout. It was a grade C regeneration potion. I stared at it blankly. There was a note attached inside the box, just like the one I had attached. "I'll do my best. Thank you. Take care of yourself." An indescribable feeling surged through me. She must have barely managed to buy one bottle with her points. She probably thought that since I had lost my arm, and it had become difficult to replace it with a will-o-wisp after leaving the disaster management agency. Thank you. I carefully put the box away and placed it preciously against my chest. That night, I drank the regeneration potion, and with my restored hands, I left farewell messages. Message sending scheduled. Set for tomorrow morning. Messages to my former superiors in Team D. And some people who had helped me. Let me send one more to the security guard chief. Mostly to tell them not to worry, that I had safely resigned. I did break out in a cold sweat while writing a message to Director Lee Ah-hyun, though. Alien Shop installment plan. I'm really sorry. I'm running away right after starting the installment plan. Instead, I've put all the equipment I had in a subway storage locker and sent the location and password to Director Lee Ah-hyun. I hope this will make it up to you. Phew. That concluded all the arrangements. What remained was the will-o-wisp. I showed my regenerated arm to the small blue fireball that had been hovering around me, watching what I did with interest. "It's okay now. Look, I have my arm back. You can go back." But the will-o-wisp flickered as if refusing and sat at my desk. It was troublesome, but I didn't feel bad about it. "Then let's stay together for just a little while. When I'm gone, you go back to the management agency. Understood?" The will-o-wisp moved as if nodding its head, looking dejected. "Now there's really only one thing left, the last one." I took out a small, fluffy, pink rabbit doll. Taking a deep breath, I placed the good friend doll against the bed leg and shined a light to cast its shadow so we could talk in reality. "Oh, friend," the cheerful host's voice, that ear-catching accent and tone, now familiar, smoothly greeted me. "This hotel today is not bad at all. The small, cozy space reminds me of the room where Mr. Deer stayed. Perhaps it's a night to celebrate your wish fulfillment." "Something like that." "No need to save money anymore." "And, friend, are you okay with this?" "With what?" "With me using the wish ticket." A question that had been bothering me but that I was afraid to ask in case the answer was terrible. "You know what my wish is." The host already knows. If he can see my thoughts or knowledge to some extent, or at the very least, would have realized it when talking with the security guard chief, that I wish to leave this world. "But you never asked me about it." Looking at the shadow of the giant doll, I continued. "It was strange." "Oh, I wondered if perhaps you thought I would fail, and were quietly waiting for catharsis." "Goodness." "Let me say again, friend, I don't wish for your failure. I simply avoid inappropriate involvement that might ruin the flow and scene. And in this case, I just..." A sound like tapping on gloves. "The situation is so clear that no questions are necessary. Don't you want to go home, friend? Yet you refused Mr. Braun's invitation to a nicer, newer home." I felt a chill down my spine, but the host's tone was still calm and cheerful. "Then, as a host, it would be respectful to watch where your choice leads this show. Do as you wish, friend. You've worked for this until now, so it's time to see the results." The rabbit doll's shadow wavered, as if pointing at something with its hand. The wish ticket potion on the table. "Phew. Let's go to the finale and ending." I picked up the wish ticket. Chapter 208. MTL. A colorful potion shimmers like waves in my hand. The color of dreams, a potion that grants wishes. The introduction is engraved on the transparent glass bottle, revealing itself whenever the potion inside ripples with light like waves. I looked at it. One daydream potion, Wish X, miraculous. Hold the bottle with both hands. Express your earnest wish in one sentence. With your eyes closed, consume the liquid in one go. Any wish will come true. I've known these instructions from the beginning. So I had been contemplating from the start what sentence to use. When using this wish, what single sentence would express my wish? I thought about it every time I tossed and turned in bed unable to sleep, every time I wrote exploration reports at the office, every time I barely survived urban legends and walked home after work. The first thing that came to mind was that, the most primal desire. Send me home. I was desperate. But I hesitated. Home is too abstract a concept. I've lived in more than 1 or 2 residences, so it was impossible to know what standard the wish would use to activate. If I wasn't careful, it might send me to the Daydream Company dormitory. The aversion I felt when infiltrating the Disaster Management Bureau, staying in motels rather than at home, probably stemmed from this concern. Anyway, I thought again. I had to eliminate all possibilities for misinterpretation. I can't make a mistake. I cannot allow the wish to grant my desire in some bizarre way. Send me back to where I used to live, also too abstract. Rejected. Send me to a world without urban legends. No guarantee that would be where I came from. If I wasn't careful, a crazy interpretation like dying and going to heaven would be a world without urban legends might be possible. Discarding options again and again, I carefully chose a perfect sentence that could precisely specify time and space, and I decided, holding the potion tightly with both hands. I opened my mouth and said, my wish is, right then, to return to where I was the day before I joined Daydream Corporation. My original world, at the point before I spun the roulette at the pop-up store. It was a perfect designation. Excellent. Got it. While hearing the host's admiration, I calmly opened the lid of the wish potion. Light burst forth, but I covered it with my hand and closed my eyes. And then I poured the potion into my mouth. Exclamation mark. Drinking a dream. That's the only way to describe it. A strange synesthetic liquid I'd never experienced before flows down my throat. Something brilliant fills my stomach. Formless power, transcendent authority, overflowing mystery, ecstasy and wonder guide me. Yes, I'm in transit. Good heavens, my entire body is being sucked somewhere very deep, very far. To where my wish reaches, it's like traveling to fulfill a long-cherished desire. A transcendental force moves me. Yes, I'm going back to my safe home. Cough. I collapsed onto the floor, my body rolled on the dirty, dusty floor, and a cough burst out. Musty air. Even with my eyes open, I see only pitch black darkness. Blinking doesn't reveal any outlines. Silence. What is this? The fantastic sensation ended. The wish has disappeared. Which means this is my destination. The blood drains from my head. I feel dazed. HNG. I twisted my body and stood up from the floor. Sharp fragments scratch my arms and hands, leaving stinging pain. Breathing heavily, I held up the empty bottle still in one hand. 1 or 2 drops of the wish liquid remaining cast a faint light. The space I'm in revealed itself. On top of broken glass shards. Exclamation mark. Turning my head, I see where I fell. An empty glass tube is broken. I fell from there onto broken glass in a dust pit. Why was I transported into that? My heart pounds anxiously. Before foreboding could take over my mind, I desperately tried to identify the silhouette of that device in the darkness. It looks like a machine that once stored a large volume of solution. But the device looks familiar. Below the empty glass tube that has no light are buttons and a keyboard panel, an old experimental machine from the 2000s. That's a dream cultivator. A broken, shattered dream cultivator from the Joyful Research Lab. I looked around blankly, my eyes, adjusted to the darkness, finally identify the surroundings with the help of the wish potion residue. This is the prototype dream cultivation room of the Joyful Research Lab. Exclamation mark. Something is wrong. Why am I here? No. Stay calm. Calm down. I clearly asked to be sent back to where I was the day before I joined. Why am I here? Wait. No, this isn't it. It's different. Yes, it has the same structure as that lab, but it's different. The silhouette is subtly different. I see different machines and documents, even recording tapes and empty reagent bottles. And the computers. There's no dust on the computers. Strange. I staggered and turned my head. I need a hint. I need a hint. And then I found it, the experiment log, the one that was soaked in blood and filth with all records meticulously erased. With only "we've been deceived" repeated madly. It was next to the broken glass tube of the dream cultivator, just like what I found last time in the dream cultivation room. I approached it. The old paper wasn't soaked in blood and filth, but it was browned as if burned. I flipped through it with trembling hands. Though blackened as if burned by fire, I could still read it. From the title on the first page, Name's First Research, I took a breath. Research purpose, confirmation of the targeted progress of the otherworldly being's manifestation in this world and the contract. We name this research after the deity worshipped by a certain cult group that has recently become active, derived from previous research. This will be the final research of the Joyful Research Lab. My heart beats ominously. I frantically turned the pages. Numerous experimental records are written. Since they aren't registered as data, the formats vary, and there are multiple conductors, various attempts and preparations. Failure. Dream Cultivator number 21 discarded. Failure. Failure. Terrible unknown materials and extreme methods remain. More than half erased. Things that were born, summoned, and then discarded, and then success. Something meaningful resulted. Experiment number 316. Solution amount, 1,200 liters. Materials, Terway 4. Substance, 326, human blood, plus 13, other synthetic elements. Successfully awakened the subject's consciousness in the glass tube. Contract failed, form collapsed in the solution. Suspected insufficient solution. Will adjust variables based on this research, and it gets more refined. Experiment number 322. Solution amount, 2,300 liters. The awakened subject screamed horribly in the glass tube. Then life signals ceased. After recognizing the mutation in his body, rejection reaction caused material bonding collapse, resulting in clumping. Requesting changes in material ratios to prepare a medium reflecting the subject's exact appearance. Investigating darkness related to transformation. My hands are trembling. An ominous deduction circles in my mind. The experiments continue repeatedly with increasingly specific conditions. The necessary conditions identified so far for invitation and contract are: 1. Maintaining the subject's original identity. 2. Forgetting previous emotional attachments. 3. Providing a survival goal. 4. Removing all sense of discomfort. Believing these conditions can be fulfilled through powerful prohibitions, various methods are being proposed. And the Joyful Laboratory's previous invention is mentioned. A now discontinued product that allowed partial manifestation of beings from the other side into dolls, requesting them to perform friendly roles for the contractor. A limited version is being distributed as merchandise in a board game. It is called Good Friend. I barely turn to the next page. The final experiment record. Experiment number 444. Solution amount, 39,999 liters. Materials, same as number 443. Result, success. Complete invitation of the subject achieved using the ritual from the discontinued product. Manifested. Stabilized. Will conduct a brief Q&A after separation from the dream solution upon awakening. The page ended there. But when I turned the last page, I saw a torn piece of paper inserted. It had traces of being crumpled and balled up, as if someone had thrown away the paper, and another person had smoothed it out and put it back into the experiment record. And there was hastily scribbled writing on it too, the once meticulous handwriting completely ruined. Daydream found out they rushed in. It was another trick. Before losing the subject, they smuggled him out and hid him in the most crowded place. Please. The text ended unnaturally there. And below the words "the most crowded place," someone had underlined it heavily and written in different handwriting, "New employee orientation?" As if deducing from the text. No. My mind refused it, but the deduction was already complete. No. There was nothing to deduce. It was too obvious. In response to my wish, "Please send me back to where I was the day before joining Daydream Corporation." I awoke in this broken dream cultivator. So I was the research target of this experiment log. A good friend. Something synthetic with a being from the other side invited by Joyful Laboratory manifested within it. Like Moderator Braun projected into a stuffed doll. Kim Solium's consciousness from another world, projected onto something created in the Dream Cultivator. Really? No. No way. There must be some other explanation. What did the prohibition say earlier? I don't fall under that. I want to go home. I need to go back to my home, meet my family and friends. So, who exactly are those people? I can't remember. Certainly, when I just joined, I definitely remembered. Didn't I remember conversations with my parents and friends? And with friends, family. I checked contact information, looked through records. Did I? Did I just think I checked in my mind and moved on? Specifically what contact information I checked, what previous address I visited. I don't know. I can't remember. Just the certainty that I did it. Then am I? This body I'm in, not Kim Solium? If this is where I was before joining, if I've returned to where this body was, if it was created in the Dream Cultivation Lab, am I not human? No. I looked down at my hands. No. No. Stop it. Ha 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 ha. My body bulges and protrudes. The tattoo collapses. I'm disappearing. The human body is breaking down. The self that realized the truth rejects the human body form. The body tries to return to its original form. Some unknown mystical and bizarre synthetic form erupted from within me. Scales and horns, hooves, spikes, breaking through the ribs. No. My voice resonates strangely through the space, but there's nothing I can do. I cleared out all my items. My tattoo is empty. No. At that moment I realized, there was one thing left in the tattoo, not mine, borrowed equipment, exclamation mark. I hurriedly shoved my mutating hand into the tattoo and pulled out the equipment security team suit, and I frantically began putting it on. My mutating body was stuffed and fixed into human form. Black smoke surrounded my entire body with a strange sound. That's how I barely regained human limbs. I need to escape. I staggered, looking for the lab door. Yellow lamp-like eyes flashed. The light found the doorknob. Barely grabbing it and leaning out, I see indoor lights, exclamation mark. An ordinary office corridor, a scene I've seen before. Daydream basement, the security captain had mentioned. Joyful Laboratory in the company basement. Joyful Laboratory. Still in our company basement. Even if you go further down, the same office corridor. Keeps repeating. What floor underground is this? How do I get out? Elevator. My head and body feel heavy. Strangely, excruciating pain surges through my entire body. I dragged my feet, somehow trying to move to the end of the corridor. Then, excellent. Such loyalty to the company. Coming back, I looked up. Someone in a suit had appeared and was staring at me head-on. An impression of indeterminate age, a cold and neat appearance, wearing a perfectly fitted 3-button suit with dark blue hair. Managing Director Kyongli, already wearing the uniform. Very good. Black pupils examine me, but that's not the appropriate uniform. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My vocal cords seem crumpled inside the suit. The constricting sensation becomes stronger, more painful. Yes, that seems to make humans look like monsters. A newly developed version. But when a real monster wears it, it's just a mold forcibly containing the body. As you know, there are many programs in society that only work when a contract is made. It's like that, he declares, as is. You'll soon necrotize. If you don't like that, there is another way. Director Kyongli took out a neat piece of paper from his breast pocket. A contract. Just sign it. I promise very humane treatment. It will be satisfying work. In the security team. Blood started flowing from my body. Blood drips down my fingers. Here. Choose. I feel like I'm dying. My collapsed body crumples as my consciousness begins to crumple too. Now I can't even stagger forward. No strength to think of another option. A dead end. I raised my trembling hand and signed that contract with my flowing blood. Good. Next. The moment the signature was complete, my body rapidly began to feel comfortable, like wearing perfectly fitted clothes, like keeping a promise. like pouring just the right amount of water into a glass. Tranquility and an unknown power spread throughout my body. And, above all, with a distinct prohibition, I looked at my superior. From now on, you will have an excellent duty. And so I ended up working for the company again.